Previously on The Walking Dead.
For The Walking Dead, Season 9, Episode 5. This is the craziest episode of a television series I've ever seen. That was pretty sad. So, saddest for Michonne, though.
Okay, guys, so that was Michonne's last episode of The Walking Dead, Season 10, Episode 13. Here's the one thing it's setting up for, is the Rick Grimes movie. So, obviously, at the end of the episode, she finds some new people.
The first thing I'm sure you guys are going to want to hear about is my reaction to the return of Rick Grimes. So, yes, guys, Rick Grimes has officially returned at the end of the show. And I cannot believe it. I cannot believe it, guys. I gotta hand it to them. This was a damn good episode. I'm sorry, too soon? Hey guys, it's Dan, your host, your Dan's Reviews, and today I'm back for another video for The Walking Dead. This one is going to be doing my review for The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live, Season 1, Episode 1, the pilot, titled Years. Alright guys, this one's going to be doing a review today. This one's going to be doing a review for The Walking Dead universe. This one's going to be doing our very first review for The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live. Oh my god, I can't believe the time fucking come. I can't believe the time has come. We're here reviewing the return of the legend, the GOAT, the man himself, Rick Grimes. After 5 years, 6 years, whatever you want to say, whatever technicality you want to say, we have finally seen the return of Rick Grimes. And I can't even believe it. So I'll make sure to let you know, this review will contain spoilers. If you have not seen the first episode of The Ones Who Live, definitely go ahead and check it out. It's a jam-packed premiere with a lot of stuff, a lot of great moments, a lot of great scenes, and we're going to break it down for you. We're going to talk about everything involved. We're going to go through everything and give our thoughts. So I should first say, is it not the greatest thing to see this goat on screen again? I mean, is it not? Like, seriously, like, getting to see Andrew Lincoln back as Rick Grimes, there's no words that can describe how amazing that is, you know? And I think the first thing I should say about this episode as we get into it ever slowly here, because this is going to be a long review, I know it, I'm going to ramble on forever, but one of the things I will say, I honestly was very shocked, not like because, you know, I was shocked necessarily, I guess that's not a good way of saying it, but if I couldn't have more respect for Andrew Lincoln than I already had before watching this, he's been gone for over 5 years at least, and he returns in this episode as, if anything, better. This is some of his best acting I've ever seen him ever do. Not to mention, Andrew Lincoln slipped right back into that role like it was nothing. I mean, seriously, and again, I'm going to get into spoilers now, so if you want to, you know, watch the episode, go ahead and watch it. That's pretty much all I have to say about it, non-spoiler-wise. Okay, so you guys, if you're still here, you want to hear my thoughts. We get to see in the opening scene of this episode, the scene that everybody's been speculating about the entire time. Rick has officially lost his hand in a sequence where he tries to escape from confinement. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. And it's how they start this episode. You literally have Rick, right? Who's like narrating this, you know, this opening scene. And we get to see this flashback, which was just insane. As we find out that Rick, of course, as he's, you know, tied up to the rest of the prisoners, we see them all lined up, you know, we see the red lights on, we have these prisoners that are killing walkers and stuff like that, and they're tied to like a rope or whatever to CRM soldiers, right? So the prisoners can only go out a certain distance, right? Because like the things like, you know, pushing them far out so that they can kill these walkers and stuff, but Rick can't go a certain distance, right? So his left hand is handcuffed to that soldier that's, you know, way back there. So Rick has no way of escaping until this legend, until this goat kills a good few walkers and manages to, which I can't believe this scene happened. This legend is so desperate to escape and go back to his family and go back to the ones he loves that he chops his left hand off to get out of confinement, to get out of the cuffs, to get out of, you know, being tied up, to escape. And it's a absolutely brutal scene as he takes the axe and chops his hand off. like, I can't even, oh my god. Look, we knew it was happening. The trailers made it pretty obvious. There were spoilers out. There were a lot of things out, unfortunately, but it still did not take away from how insane that was. I could not believe seeing him. And, when he chops his hand off and you see him sitting there and he's like, he doesn't know how to even, react. He's losing blood, all this type of shit. And then he goes to this walker and he puts his hand through this, burning walker to try to stop the infection and to try to stop everything, right? Absolutely insane. And we get to see him as he's, trying to make his escape. He's losing blood. He's trying to get out. And a CRM soldier tases him, catches him, and brings him back. So obviously we knew that he wasn't going to escape, but it was still a absolutely insane moment regardless. I mean, I couldn't believe what I was watching. And that's one hell of a way to introduce the show. Let me put it that way. That is one hell of a way to introduce it. So, how do I put it? I mean, seeing this left hand being chopped off, getting to see Rick after all these years of the comic book series existing, wondering if we were ever going to see it adapted. I mean, we saw it adapted, but they changed it big time. I just can't believe that he was the guy that did it. He did it to himself to get out, And well, let's go to, of course, where he gets his new prosthetic, right? So he's in the hospital, right? He wakes up. We see the new prosthetic being put onto him, which is this black, fake hand with a fist at the end, right? And this is obviously very good because also in real life, Andrew Lincoln can put his hand through clothes like that in the, the prosthetic, and he can hide his hand and they don't have to do any CGI or anything like that. So it's actually a brilliant idea as well, for the filming of it as well too. So Andrew can just put his hand right through. So that's really cool. And obviously CRM has this advanced equipment, so we know that they're able to do this. But it's pretty cool because obviously we see him now and he's only got one hand, and now he is tasked to clear walkers and to be a consignee is what they call him for 6 years, right? So we find out in this episode through dialogue that he was apparently trying to escape 4 different times. 4 different times this goat has been trying to get out of there. Unbelievable. I mean, absolutely unbelievable. And now he has to, be a prisoner, basically clear walkers for 6 years in order to become a CRM soldier and in order to become, a high-ranking member of the CRM, which is absolutely insane. I cannot believe that. And it's really cool because we get to see him as he's clearing these walkers. And, well, then we get introduced to some of the characters. We get introduced to Pearl Thorne. We get introduced to, of course, Donald, who is, I would say, the secondary character of this episode. He's a huge character. And then, obviously, we do get some minor stuff from Major General Beale as well, too. But it was really, really great. And as we see this community and as we see everything, it's really big. It's a really big place, obviously, and the budget for this show is insane. I mean, I don't think there was one moment in this first episode where anything looked off. I mean, it all looked like a fucking movie. It really did. Excuse my language, but it looked like a fucking movie. It looked so good. And I was so impressed by the visuals of this show. It's unbelievable. But anyway, basically, as we see him clearing these walkers, as we see him, kind of going through this, it's really crazy as we, of course, skip some time. And we see Donald, who is kind of like a side character in this episode. He's really cool. He's basically like a CRM soldier already, and he sees something in Rick, which I think is really cool. But then we kind of learn a little bit of what he wants him to do. He wants Rick with him because he wants to build a army against Beale, against the rest of them, right? He wants Rick with him, and he wants Thorne with him, which are the two biggest characters obviously right now that he's focusing on. And Thorne is kind of a more, not to say selfish, but, she's kind of all about herself. She kind of wants to get through this herself. Whereas Donald is kind of more of, he wants to create a resistance, I guess, if you will. He wants to, overthrow Beale, and he wants Rick on his side. And I actually like the way he puts it, too, because he even says, in this episode, he's like, you're a B, right? You're a B? I don't think so. You're an A, because you're a leader, because you're, this and that. And that's what I like, is that he views Rick as very important. He doesn't view Rick as a B. He views Rick as an A, which is, again, really, really intense. But yeah, you get a lot of really cool stuff there. You get a lot of really cool scenes, and it was really cool. Now, another scene I want to talk about, because obviously we got to introduce Mr. Terry O'Quinn, the legend, of course. He is, of course, introduced in a really cool kind of dialogue scene between him and Rick, where he asks Rick, do you think that, do you know anything about Donald? Do you, know anything about what he's plotting? And Rick says that he doesn't. He says that he doesn't know anything, which again is a load of shit. And I think Beale, kind of knows that as well too. But, obviously Rick lies to his face, which is, maybe not the smartest idea, but of course, he's trying to get back to his family. So if he has to lie to get back, he'll do anything, And again, it was really great seeing Terry O'Quinn as Major General Beale. Obviously, we didn't get too much of him in this episode. We're going to get more of him as, the time goes on. But it was really cool seeing him introduced in that scene, getting to see him and Andrew Lincoln have a good first scene and stuff. And it was really well done. I really like seeing him. I'm excited for what's to come of his character. I'm excited for, what we're going to see with him in the rest of this show. But it's going to be really cool. I like seeing his introduction. And again, pretty much all the new characters, like Pearl Thorne, really like her acting's great. Donald was my favorite of the side characters this episode. He was really good as we see him and Rick and stuff like that. And again, Major General Beale, for what we saw of him, I really liked him as well too. I thought all of their characters, all the additions were really fantastic in this episode. And obviously this episode is called Years, so that makes sense because of all the years that he was doing all the work and doing all the stuff. And I do have to also mention, I loved the intro for this show. I loved the opening credits for this show. Very visually appealing, a lot of really cool stuff with the CRM as you're kind of like panning through and stuff. It was really good, even like the bottle of, with the note in the water and stuff. It was really good. It visually looked really, really incredible. I really, really liked it. Now, one of the big pieces of information that we did learn throughout some dialogue in this episode, which is something I've been kind of wondering myself, to be honest, because we did see some things in World Beyond, but it wasn't explained in this detail. There are 3 different CRM locations. There's Omaha, there's Portland, and then there's this place, which they say is a very secret location. Not much is revealed about it, which is obviously for their safety so that nobody knows where they are and stuff, but it's pretty insane. And, well, we do get a scene in this episode, which, again, talk about insane. We do get a scene where Rick is also trying to get away, and we get this scene where he sees this little girl, and basically Rick is just no, I don't think so, which is, again, really, really intense. I loved all the action in this episode. I thought it was so good, and again, I'm going to keep saying it, just seeing Andrew Lincoln again is what made that so great. And, well, then Thorne does inform Rick that Donald knows about his family. He knows things about Rick's past. He knows things about all that. So we kind of get Rick that goes kind of nuts. Rick kind of has a bit of a badass moment, which I just geeked out towards. He confronts him, and you get a pretty exciting scene where they kind of fight about it and stuff like that. Really, really cool, too. I love the music. I love everything about it. And basically we find out that, Rick is saying, look, I know you know stuff about me, but my wife is my choice. That's when we get those lines. My daughter is my choice. My life is my choice. Stuff like that. And you get Donald, who kind of tells a bit of a sad story, is that when he tried to get out, his family was killed, which was kind of a oh shit moment. And he's basically telling Rick, look, man, I'm warning you now. If you try to get out, your family is going to die. Your family and people are going to get hurt in the process, which really just installs fear inside of Rick, because at that point now he knows that, okay, people are now aware of where my whereabouts are, in Alexandria and stuff like that. So, oh man, Donald, man, I mean, talk about a really tragic character. Talk about a really messed up character. And it's cool because here's the thing, he's there to help Rick. He is there to help him. But it just and we now understand because of what happened to his family, why he's doing what he's doing. It adds to his motivation, which again is really good. And it adds to how evil the CRM is and what happened to Donald's family. He doesn't want that to happen to Rick, So it's kind of a cool scene, but it's screwed up, man. And obviously as this episode progresses, we have Rick that eventually gets himself ranked in the CRM, which is really good. And I love the shot where they're of course in the office and you see the office coming together as Rick and Pearl Thorne become soldiers for the CRM, which is absolutely amazing. I love seeing that. I love seeing them become, high-ranking members and stuff, because this is the only fucking way for Rick to escape somehow, is at least if he has the position of power, and as long as he has the soldiers' trust, then he can work on a way to get out. So that's why he's done this for all this time. And again, it's explained in a really fantastic way, and it's really good. So now Rick and Thorne are now, important. They're now soldiers and stuff like that. And you get a really, really cool scene where you find out that Omaha, over a breaking news type of video, Omaha was destroyed, right? Omaha is gone. And that's actually a really cool tie-in because they're making the show, kind of related to some of the other things, which is really, really good. We find out about Omaha in this episode. Rick and Pearl Thorne both do, and it's really crazy. It's a really crazy reveal, and I like how they're tying things in from the other show. It's really good. I'm glad that they're tying things in. I'm glad that they're making things matter, and I think that's really good. But again, it instills fear on Rick. Obviously, the CRM is not what they say they are, which Rick knows that. Rick knows, that this place is off. Hell, they've kept him here all this time. He's had to become a soldier just for them to, just to let him go, But by the end of the episode, we get a really insane scene, which let's talk about this because I've been waiting to talk about this the whole time. It's one of my favorite parts. When they're in the helicopter and you've got, of course, Rick, you've got Donald, you've got some of the rest of the soldiers as they're flying this chopper and it gets shot down, right? And of course, at first, you're just like, what the hell is going on? And they actually kill Donald off. I was shocked. I did not expect to see that whatsoever. They kill him off. He dies in the crash, and Rick and the rest of them go down. Most soldiers die as well, too. And, we find out that, of course, somebody shot it down. We don't know who it is. Donald is now dead. Rick is trying to escape. You've got the soldiers that are all out there in the fire. Helicopter's been blown to shit. And he runs into a woman with a sword as she's killing the rest of these soldiers. And at the very end, Rick reveals himself to Michonne as they sit there, and Michonne takes off her helmet as we see Rick and Michonne look at each other in shock. And that's how episode 1 ends. Brilliant. Brilliant shit, man. I got chills so many times watching this episode. Unfucking believable. Loved this episode. Loved everything about it. I loved getting to see, tie-ins to some other shows with Omaha. Really cool. Love seeing Rick again. Love seeing the hand chopping part, as horrifying as that was. It was insane. Visuals were absolutely incredible. The new characters with Pearl Thorne, Major General Beale, obviously, and, obviously Donald, who was a great one. Who was a big casualty at the end of this episode. But I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And you know what I love the most, too, about Rick and Michonne's reunion? Because let's talk about that real briefly. They did it in the first episode. I was kind of worried that they were gonna drag that out for a good bit of the season. No, it just happens. It just happens at the end of this fucking episode. And episode 2, obviously, which is gonna be next week, is a big Michonne episode, which we've also seen. That's gonna be a big Michonne episode. A lot of stuff related to Michonne. But at least for this episode, Michonne wasn't even really all that involved. She really wasn't. We saw a few things, but for the most part, her reunion with Rick, that was most of the stuff we ever really got of Michonne. So it's pretty insane. It was a risky move, but I appreciated it because this episode needed to be about Rick. It needed to be about the CRM. It needed to be about what he was up to, and now we understand. We now understand more of what the CRM is about, all about, and what they're up to, and we know that they have now 3 locations, and we know all this information about them, so I'm glad that this happened in the way it did. But I'll say this, now that Rick and Michonne are back together, and now that we have that reunion, and it was insane seeing that, moment between the two of them. And of course, there is more leaks out there of their reunion from the next episode, but I'm not going to discuss that because that's fucking episode 2 shit. I wish people didn't leak that shit online. But anyway, I love the reunion. I love how it was done. And it was really, really cool because, again, it's realistic. Realistically, Michonne would probably shoot that thing down, and we would see a very close call for Rick before Michonne finds him, She wouldn't find him in some, random, cheesy way where it's like, oh, he sees her and then she sees him and they run to each other in slow-mo. No, they did it in a Walking Dead fashion, which is what I really appreciated about this episode. It was realistic. The way it was done, it was very explosive. The episode was good. Overall, I got no complaints for this premiere. It was everything I wanted to see. And getting to see Andrew Lincoln as Rick again, I couldn't have been more happy. Honestly, this was such a phenomenal premiere to this 6-episode event. I loved it. So, 10 out of 10 for me. I got no issues here. This was an amazing episode, and obviously I want to hear from you guys now in the comment section below. What did you think of episode 1 of The Ones Who Live? Post comments down below. If you're new to the channel and you enjoy this video, make sure to click the subscribe button so you don't miss any other videos of The Walking Dead universe. Make sure to follow me on Dan's The Walking Dead reviews on Instagram, guys, and of course, I'll see you guys very soon for more videos of The Walking Dead. Enjoy the rest of your day, guys, and peace out.